Hey, everybody. We are live and we are alive.
Mostly.
At least I think we are.
Alive.
Mostly, yeah. QX was just telling me how he was coding stuff, although I don't believe it. I think he was just getting drunk, but he says that he's running on hibernate battery saver mode right now.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But we'll keep him battery saver for the next hour, and then when he runs out of battery, we'll plug him back in, and he can do that. So yeah, we got with us today QX and none other than Kushti.
Look at that beautiful mic on Kushti.
Yeah,
that's gonna sound gorgeous.
Coming to you live with a pro mic. What do you think about that?
Yeah, again, and also video.
Yeah,
and video, and stable video, like not handheld video.
So, yeah. Everything is properly organized now. So.
yeah, I know. 2024 is shaping up to be huge, I tell you. All right, so what do we got in store? Well, aside from the usual work, right? We're still progressing with exchanges, still progressing with marketing strategies, as we were talking about before in the green room. And what we have coming up starting on the 15th is a great marketing opportunity for the ecosystem. We have what do we call that, fellas? Ergo Hack?
Summit.
Ergo Summit. Oh yeah. Ergo Summit. Yeah, of course, because I should know that because I only said that about 50 times before, but now that we're on the air-ish type of thing, I call it that, but it's the Ergo Summit starting on the 15th. Now, of course, it's different than the Ergo Hack because the Ergo Summit is where you get all this different content from all these different people in the ecosystem, including Kushti, including myself. And so we're going to put out a lot of really good content. Kushti, what is our theme for this Ergo Summit?
Oh, so it's future of finance.
Right. Future of finance.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's ambitious as always.
It is ambitious, and we got a lot of developments in the ecosystem which is why it's also very relevant. Well, for example, everybody knows, I think, about Rosen, and that Rosen is cooking, and we are getting, we're getting cross-chain DeFi going now because of Rosen, and it's only going to expand. What we're actually doing for Catalyst 11 is we're going to be expanding Rosen into the EVM ecosystem. So that's going to be really exciting because, you'll like what happened with Cardano. Well, just wait till you put it out into, Ethereum and all these other EVM crew peeps that will also be able to utilize the bridge. And, we can go back and forth and do whatever we want. Well, within reason. I think is going to be a huge thing. And that's also coming up really shortly. So Fund 11, don't forget, if you're in the Cardano ecosystem, the new Rosen proposal is for Fund 11 for entry into the EVM ecosystems, or into the EVM ecosystem, specifically Ethereum. So we will be bringing those opportunities from and to Ethereum on Cardano and on Ergo. And so it's really cool to see cross-chain DeFi happening right away. We got what do we have? We have a nice offering on Sigmafy, right? QX.
For Rosen. Yeah, is that still there?
From Rosen, yeah, via Rosen.
I didn't look. Let me bring that up right now. Let's see. Did that get eaten? No, it's still there. Yeah, the Rosen AD, 125,000 Rosen ADA is there.
It's still there, but there you go, right? So we're a little bit of just a little bit out the door right now with the launch, and we already have such opportunities happening in this cross ecosystem DeFi. So just wait 6 months and see what's going to happen then. It's going to blow up. So that's really, really exciting. And so, I mean, mainly that's what we've been working on. That is what my team has also been working on at Zengate, and, working really closely with the Rosen team. We just had a really good Twitter space with the Rosen team. Unfortunately, I couldn't join because it was...
Oh, it's great. Joe did a great job. Yeah.
No, Joe always does, and I know I can always count on Joe. I can always count on Theodore to really put together an awesome space. One of these days I'll be in a time zone where it's not insane for me to be in that space. Unfortunately, right now it's like 2 or 3 a.m. for me. So I do need to get sleep. I do need my 2 hours of sleep a day at some point, and that's when it usually happens. Right. So, quite a bit happening. So what's been happening from your end? Well, let's start with QX. What's been happening from your end? What's up with the Sigmanauts?
Well, I was looking at while you were talking about the summit, I was taking a sneak peek behind the scenes at the scheduled videos. And I know they've been releasing some hints on Twitter, but I'm looking. We've got a good video from THC coming up. That'll be fun. That was a popular when I had Mike on the dev update. That was a popular viewed episode. So it seems like people like hearing from him, which is great. And what's it called? We get to hear from Mick again, which is fantastic. And then the first place of the Ergo hack, Analog Ergo, the atomic swap, which is a really exciting app that I can't wait to see and use in full action. Super, super cool. So yeah, there's about a dozen videos, I think, so far. I'm trying to... I'll call out Captain Nemo again. I'm trying to get Captain Nemo to make his video so that he can add it to the bunch. But we'll see if he's listening and he'll accept being called out for that one.
Is Captain Nemo going to use like puppets?
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll make this video with puppets and animatronics.
But in the Sigmanauts, so we had a really good discussion last night about market making and arbitrage and things like Hummingbird and arbitrage bots. And, Joe gave us some really good insights. Let me pause there. If you guys want to be involved in these conversations, if you want to be a SigCan or a Sigmanaut, really, just if you saw it in chat last night, somebody was like, oh, I want to be involved. And I'm like, well, Sigmanauts can just bring in a SigCan and you're there instantly and read up the chat history and get involved. So if you guys want to anybody wants to do that, please, I encourage you to jump in and grab a Sigmanaut and one of us will add you right to the channel. So Joe gave us some really good insights about market making and arbitrage bots and market making corporations, essentially, that you hire out, and really gave us some, background of why he didn't believe the EF should be trading against its own community there and profiting it off its own community with these things. As far as to explaining how these teams work when you hire them out. Essentially, you can hire them out to sit down and actually formulate plans to break through buy walls and sell walls and all that kind of stuff. So it really opens your eyes to, what we're competing against when you see other chains just break through their walls and that kind of thing. So anyway, he offered to set up a meeting between a market maker and some SIGs. So a couple of us are going to sit in on this meeting and just hear what they have to say so we can get a good feeling for how that world works and get some more experience there. And then there was also talk about just testing out things like Hummingbird, which is an arbitrage and market maker bot with small amounts, just to see how that works. But of course, with the general ethos of what Ergo is, in realizing that if we're taking money from the community to do this, essentially we should give it back to the community. So the idea would be, if we were to fund some sort of market maker or arbitrage bot or something like that, or run Hummingbird with a lot of funds in it, we would then figure some way out how to take that money that we're earning off that and putting it back into the ecosystem. So we're not just extracting value or returning it, but also getting the benefit of what big exchanges like to see, which is volume on exchanges and that kind of, bullshit as far as that goes. So that was a great talk last night. Looking forward to that meeting this weekend, hopefully, and going from there. And also,
right.
what's
And
it
can
called?
you?
Sorry, go for it.
Yeah. So can you please tell us about XDAO? So there was some token issued, and there were rumors about it. Maybe you can provide some details.
For the so Louis Vatra actually set us up and created the test Sigmanauts DAO, and that's as far as we've gotten with it. We need to convene with Louis Vatra, see how far we go from there. We have not been dropped any DAO tokens yet. I think he was still deciding on if he should drop them to one person and have them distribute, or how he was going to distribute those for the test. But we're really excited about that. So that'll mean the idea there is that once we get full testing on that Padilla DAO with the Sigmanauts subsection of it, we will do some testing with some shit coins. And we were joking the other day that we can't use Common anymore for testing on the chain just because the price has gone up so much with it. So we're going to have to find another token. Maybe we'll use a Kushti token for testing on those kind of things or something like that. So yeah,
Right.
we're gonna test with that.
Then,
what's that?
Yeah, sorry. It basically means that Paideia is Paideia's custom DAOs, let's say, under testing, right?
Yep.
Within 6. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so we the idea is that we're going to test it out with some shit tokens and maybe move a little bit of the treasury after we feel confident that Louis hasn't screwed up the smart contract and locked all our tokens in it. And then once we get confident with that, we'll hopefully move our treasury over and start working from there and have a real freaking community run DAO there for all that kind of stuff. Going to be awesome. Really excited about that. And lastly, Mark, it seems like, I don't know if he's announced this in main chat, but Mark has been doing some work in the background with the Discord. It looks like he's created a couple different Discords. There's like a main entry Discord. There's a Ergo developers Discord and a normal Ergo Discord. And he's really cleaned up the left-hand side channels of these, and he's bridged them all to the main Discord as well. So for people, it's kind of like Telegram channels, but not really in that matter, but they're separate servers. So it's really neat once he puts that out there. Maybe he has a main chat already, but look for that. If you feel like the main Ergo Discord is a little too messy for you or a little too crowded, you can specify. You can not join the developer one and only join the community one, or join the developer one and mute the community one, that kind of thing. So look for that. Mark does a great job with that kind of stuff. So it's always fun to see what he can come up with. That's all I got. Kushti, all you, sir. What's up with you?
All right. So there was intense developers chat yesterday, right, with a lot of updates of a different project, including now Gleon. So I'm pushing them to provide updates to me and publishing them. Then yeah. A lot of updates. There will be video, right, over the weekend by I don't know this time. And yeah, so developers is the developers chat was intense, and yeah, the development is going on quite well. Yeah, I'm thinking about organizing another chat now, community chat probably. So it will be about the general Telegram group. And yeah, probably this time, yes, still related to Subblocks, but I'm thinking to discuss sidechains, right? And well, other means of scaling the layer one. Yeah, will be announced soon. So maybe it will take place just after the Ergo Summit as kind of after talk.
Kushti, it looks like
right.
When you were talking about the dev update, I took a look, and it looks like LGD is taking on Guap Swap. Did he come up with Guap Swap, or is he just taking it on moving forward?
No, that was aggregator.
Aggregate. So LGD's kind of taking on GWAPSUP moving forward. That's pretty cool. Or working on it. Yeah, I'm looking at it, the dev update.
Yeah.
And Kushti, you did something big with the buyback contracts. You implemented them in something this week as well. That's a big news too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Currently, buyback count is implemented in change. So yeah, it was done like a couple days ago, and all the planned features in chain cache contract. So going to finalize CC YP1, and Rosen is working on the server implementation, supporting CIP. The idea then is to have more CCIPs and then concrete implementations the original chain cache server, and maybe alternative implementations will support possibly different subsets of CIPs, done in Notr clients, for example. So, more or less the same approach. Right, and going. There is buyback implement in chain cache contracts and check Gleon next. So, I'm currently reviewing HODL commit. In general, HODL token contracts, and after that, we'll jump on reviewing Gleon contracts. And there is already private testing UI available to some testers, right? So folks are already playing with Gleon deployment over the testnet. And for Dexy, deployment is going on.
How do you feel, Kushti? How do you feel Oracle 2's been working with Gort and that whole protocol there? You feel really comfortable and confident that that's been working great?
Yeah. So in general, I think it's much better experience overall. Version 1, right? And with custom token and applications, it's quite interesting already. Combination, right? When you have the same token for the Oracle pool and applications, using it, buying it back, right? And then currently we are establishing so-called gold cooperative. I think about it as of DAO, which will have Oracle pools and Dexy, Gleon, Chain Cache developers united under its umbrella. It's quite interesting experiment in tokenomics, and
not just tokenomics, Kushti. It's funny that group, the Gort group, essentially, that's running Oracle 2 for that, is the first couple of weeks there was a real struggle about how rewards were going to work and how fair it was as far as that goes. And for those of you that don't know, at least for this Oracle pool, the winner of the winner that's chosen for the reporting out of everybody that enters the blocks is given an amount of Gort tokens equal to the amount of people in the pool. So if there are 15 people running the Oracle, then they get 15 Gorts, and everybody else gets 1 for reporting. So it all depends on where your node is, where you're pushing that transaction to be read, how close it is to the miners. Maybe it's close enough to Kostri's node physically, or maybe in the same data center, who knows, and you'll get the benefit of that. So there was talk about, hey, should we be racing against each other with the prices here to do that? And I just thought it was a really good social experiment in that channel, Kushti, to go through that. And then even in the end right now, you'll see a bunch of those people that are receiving the Gort tokens donating those back to your dev fund, Kushti, to be able to help support more development there and not, cashing them out as far as Skego. So not just tokenomics there, Kushti, but some really cool social aspects and social experiments, I'd say, in that channel for sure.
Yeah, in governance and so on. And for now, there is consensus. I think about using half of Gort tokens emitted for sponsoring development, right? So, the VIC support for such distribution is already implemented, but I need to start testing, so maybe in coming days. And then this Gort tokenomics and governance experiment would be quite interesting, I think, and probably more solid than was with version 1 and CQSD, right? So a lot more of involvement, and rewards are now tied with success of applications, right? So quite interesting. And now developers are rewarded will be right. There are some bounties paid in court. Success with applications, the developments is now tied with success of oracles, right? Oracle pool operators. So it's kind of a real cooperative then. I don't know about any possible comparisons in space. Probably not much, right? So looks like something new, and still we will see how it will work out. But to the moment it looks very promising, I'd say.
What else you got? Anything else working in the pipes this week, Kushti? Or should we hit questions?
Writing some documents about possible sidechains instantiations. It would be beneficial to consider some concrete and in particular in regards with tokenomics, right? So how miners of matched mined sidechains will be rewarded, which then beneficial to Subblocks incentivization also, right? If sidechains would be tied with Subblocks. Means fast blocks and also rewarding for propagating, working on Subblocks. And a lot of usual development efforts in the node and Sigma interpreter as well.
All right, cool beans. Dan, you want to hit the questions? You got the link?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. All right. We got a lot of really good questions here. Let's see. What do we start with first? Okay. Let me see. Okay. So here's a question from Augustus Kent on Subblocks for Kushti. Kushti, Subblocks is very interesting, but how far can it be pushed? How quick can it be? And are there security trade-offs that come with shorter subblock intervals?
Anyway, it's about weaker support, right? And in regards with no double spec, right? And Subblocks guarantees also weaker, and they probably be kind of crypto economic, actually just economic, right? So, for example, reward from all the side chains, rewards from mining all the side chains are bigger. Rewards from rolling Subblocks prefix and doing double spend, then miners will working on longest Subblocks chain, something like that, which probably weaker than just blocks, but maybe not that weaker, right? Because for the blocks, normal blocks, it's pretty much the same, right? So bribing miners for forking a chain, starting from some block in the past, I need to pay more than block rewards and transaction fees combined. But still, a formal argument is required here. So still need to work on that.
Kushti, speaking about block emissions and rewards and those kind of things, not really on topic, but somewhat off topic. There's been some talk in the chats recently. Sorry to hijack, Dan. There's been some talks in the chats recently where people are asking what we can do for better or more increased miner rewards after the emission contracts are spent. So my question to you, I guess, in a simple term, if there is some sort of, in addition to transaction fees and storage rent, is there something that can be done as far as, let's say we get an income source that is figured out, whether it be something like Rosen Bridge, which could generate some extra funds essentially and pump them back into an emissions contract that would then feed out to miners. Is that something that is possible in not just Rosen, but could be another project that heavily depends on the Ergo blockchain that would, be a benefactor to keep Ergo running smoothly with a lot of miner incentive? Is that something that the current emission contracts can be just dumped into by anybody, or is that a completely different scenario that needs to be created in a soft fork, kind of like before when you did the re-emissions contract?
Yeah, so actually, any contract can send to re-emission contract, right? And there could be custom emission contracts like was done in GetBlock, right? And you can imagine application Rosen send part of fees to such emission contracts.
Cool.
And
very cool.
Maybe even part for transaction fees or whatever, right? Well, application fees and so on.
Like even on a DEX, like the Spectrum,
maybe,
Spectrum DEX fee, part of that could go to an emissions contract, get dumped into that.
Yeah, to some emission contracts.
That's very flexible, very cool.
Like re-emission as a simplest option or some custom. Maybe at some we make some EAP or custom emission contracts, and then some proposal for miners on how to find them automatically.
So, Kushti, does the current contract go to zero, or does it just when it runs out, when the contract runs out of funds, does it just stop paying out? Of course, because it can't anymore. So I'm saying if that specific contract gets funds dumped into it by other projects, will it keep on paying out the last amount of emissions that have been to the miners in 2045, essentially, at that point, or does it actually go to zero?
Yeah, I see.
We have to make a new one.
So topping up contracts is not trivial. Maybe possible. Actually, I need to check. But yeah, in a way, you can do well custom emission contracts, right? They would be not different from the original one. So it's
set your own parameters.
It's a contract after all. Yeah. So well, the original contract is not a privileged citizen, right? A first-class citizen. So it's a usual contract after all, just created before the first block.
That'll be cool. I think that'll be some fun conversations in the future once the block reward goes down quite a bit. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, and well, emission contract is also an interesting pattern, right? How to call it? Not design pattern, like in development, software development, but probably to pattern, right? Let's say. So, well, you can do different things like FIMO, fair initial mining offering, right? Custom emission contracts, you can do, well, different things probably. Like, well, yeah, paying miners, but, well, with different purposes, right?
Yeah. All right, guys, let's move on. We got some more questions here. Okay, so this is something that I forgot if we covered it last time, but this is something I just wanted to reiterate. So because I do see this pop up now and then. So with Cardano funding, the EVM, if passes, Ergo has connector to EVM chip. Okay, so basically what FC is saying here is if we get funding for the Rosen EVM bridge, so Ergo will be connected to the EVM chain by default, or is it something that I'm missing and further to do with Ergo side? So I think what's being asked here is, so what's going to happen to Ergo? I mean, where does Ergo come in if it's a connector, if it's just a connector? So the reason why I wanted to kind of touch on this is because I do see this, in socials, people saying, well, so, if you're bridging Cardano and EVM using Rosen bridges, you're not really doing anything. You're just doing Cardano and EVM. You're doing Cardano and Ethereum. Well, first of all, one thing to remember is you're always using Ergo. You're literally always Ergo. It never stops being used in any combination or any type of situation where the bridge is used. So the security stays on Ergo, and so that a good portion of the transacting stays on Ergo. And so it's very important to understand that doesn't matter what is being bridged, Ergo is always in the mix. And Ergo is always basically, there's always a way for the liquidity for whatever is happening on the bridge chain to make it to Ergo. So it's essentially would not just be Cardano to EVM, it would be Ergo Cardano EVM. And it always is. So like I said, I see this in the community once in a while. They're worried about Ergo kind of being shunned away if the bridge is bridging to other chains. But again, you just have to remember that it's literally never it never leaves Ergo. Ergo is always utilized, and it's not just under the hood. It's literally the ecosystem is always utilized whenever other chains are bridged or interbridged between other chains using the Rosen bridge. So yeah, have no fear. Ergo stays relevant in every single situation. All right. Let me see. There is a question for, let's see. Dear QX, how can I see the extended public key of a wallet? I know if I know the receive address for, did I know the receive address for? First things is take yourself
First thing I gotta
off mute.
unmute, right? Right.
Yeah. Do that. Now answer the question.
I think Cushy's gonna have to dig deeper in that for me. I'll have to call my backup. But I know there's on Swagger there's an API call to get the public key, the pay to public key, but that's a hex encoded one. Perhaps that needs to be encoded, unencoded to be the actual hash that you put into Nautilus for adding that kind of thing. But if you, what's it called, Kushti, you have an answer to that one?
How to get XPub from what?
Just from the address, the address only. Can you do that?
Yeah, so I think Minotaur is showing XPub actually. Minotaur wallet.
Yeah, but you need the seed to add that to Minotaur. Essentially, I think this person is asking, how do you get an extended public key from just having the wallet address?
Oh, yeah. So in the notes you can get public key bytes, but
the bytes,
to get it's in XPub formats, probably for some further operations needed.
Yeah. So if Crypto Bro, if you go to anybody's a node Swagger, there's you'll see in the utilities there's an address to raw public key hex. And I think that's what you're talking about, Kushti. And then you'll have to put that into the XPub that Nautilus takes for that kind of thing. I can look a little further after the AMA if I have a second. But yeah.
Yeah, but the Nautilus is not generating XPub as in some BAP, right? And what's Nautilus is doing? Is it showing using some BAP format?
Let's see what Nautilus is asking for. It's just asking for the E extended public key, and let's see settings here. Export wallet. It's giving. It doesn't say exactly what it gives, but it's like a 100-character key that it gives out, which is much longer than the raw public key serialized that the node gives out.
So yeah, probably some BIP.
We'll look into it, Crypto Bro.
So yeah,
thanks
maybe
for
can
us.
add some API request to the node for that.
It'd be interesting to know what his use case for that would be. Perhaps. Maybe he can comment in chat what his use case there would be. Help us understand a little more.
Well, and now you have your homework worked out for you.
Thanks so much. I guess I can't work today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and about Minotaur, I'm not sure. Maybe you can do just watch only wallets there.
I'm gonna try that while you guys are chatting right now. I'm gonna remote in and launch Minotaur. Give it a try.
XPub would be shown there, but yeah, I need to try on my side.
Yeah, I'll try it right now while Dan's going on to the next question.
Well, maybe you should hold off for the next question. Actually, no, yeah. Keep checking. I'll answer this other question, and then I wanted to get in to a community-specific question. All right. So, Wendy Moon asks, will Zengate be exploring the use of subblocks, or is that speed not necessary? So, yes, we are interested in subblocks. I'm interested in subblocks just for the option, the option of having that be on the table and basically be incorporated into the protocol. As far as the need for speed, so in the current use case, for what we're using Ergo for, there really isn't the need for ludicrous speed or anything or anything close to that. Simply because if you think about it, what we're doing is we're tokenizing. So we create a non-fungible asset that represents a commodity on Ergo, right? Or we create a non-fungible asset on Ergo that represents a commodity. Okay, so that's one thing. It doesn't matter if that takes 3 seconds or 3 minutes. It doesn't. It's not a time sensitive thing. I mean, of course, we don't want it to take 3 days, or 3 hours, but it won't, So in that case, it doesn't matter if it's super fast or if it's just, reasonable. Then if you go through iteration, say you're going through traceability iterations, right? So state changes of a tokenized asset, which again uses EUTXO, uses EUTXO boxes to iterate through the different state changes and save them. Again, a state change happens. So what is a state change? For example, in a case of T, a state change is so the T has been plucked from field A7 at so time by these particular people, and submitted for first batch of dehydration. So that information is then put into the traceability part of the protocol, and goes on chain. Again, this is not something that, of course, you don't want it to take hours, right? But if it takes a few minutes for the stuff to register, even if there's high chain load and it takes a while to do anything, that's fine. Later on, of course, if there are transactions that have to do more with, say, payments, or maybe a transaction where, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but a transaction, say, when I need to interact with another person in person using the protocol. And so I do an action and I wait for the response from that person, and we're in a meeting, right? So we don't want that response to take, you don't want to wait like 30 minutes for that response to come. You want it to be pretty quick, right? So I do an on-chain action, that person responds on an on-chain action. So that in that case, yes, I see Subblocks being relevant, but as of right now, we don't have any actions like that. So in its current state, Ergo speed is I think is more than enough for us to do what we need to do. All right, let's.
I've got an answer already from Minotaur.
Okay. What's your answer? What is it?
So I loaded the address as a read-only address in Minotaur, and it looks like on the address page, Minotaur will not show me the extended public key of it. It only does it for something that I have the seed for. It just, the option's not there when you view it on read-only. So you may have to find another path there.
All right. Well, thank you. You did your work well. You get a cookie.
Thanks, Dan. I'm really hungry.
Yeah, no problem. Get one yourself. Buy it yourself, because I'm too far to give you a cookie. And even if I was close, I wouldn't share my cookies with you. But anyway, well, we'll get to that at a different time. But what I would like to get into here is, and this is something that I would like to also get your input on, QX. Wombo says that the thoughts on the community sentiment being down, thoughts on things for the community to work on. So first of all, is the community sentiment down? It just seems like I mean, I'm not present at all things. I'm not present at dev calls, which I should be more. But is the sentiment down? What do you think?
It's difficult. Well, I'll answer that question with an immediate answer. Yeah, in some aspects, there are people that are voicing, some sort of their emotional state as being, a little in the downside for seeing things happen on other chains that aren't happening here, as far as price action goes. And,
Right.
I can understand it's tough for people to watch something like, let's take a lithium, if that's how you say it, where they started off at like 15 cents the other day, last month, and now they're at $2.50 kind of thing. Then they see something like Ergo, which is, further along in development than that chain, and has a lot of tooling on it and that kind of thing. And they wonder why the other one happens and not Ergo. So I understand that, and that's difficult. But if you guys were in the chats last night, there was somebody expressing those kind of that sentiment a little bit, and it's hard to counter. It's hard to give them what they're looking for, because they're basing an argument based on price action and that kind of thing. Whereas, once you get in a state of why you're an Ergo and what you're doing it, you really kind of focus on being disappointed about adoption instead of price action. So where they see, why are other chains going up and that kind of thing, I don't personally get that worried, although it's tough to watch. Yeah. I don't get that worried as far as that goes, because I don't see adoption happening on those chains. If I saw great adoption happening where Alephium, not only the price going up, but they also have a deal with some local university, or they have a deal with some company like Zengate or that kind of thing, then I'd be like, oh shit, these guys, not only is their price going up, but their adoption levels are going up as well. Whereas in Ergo, I like to measure the metric of success as we have an amazing company like Zengate who's tokenizing a bunch of stuff that's a real world adoption. We're attempting to implement the blockchain into our apps at my college. You have Rosen Bridge, which is an amazing thing that's going to bridge all the chains together, kind of thing. So if you look at it from that mindset, I don't think there's anything to be worried about. While other chains are chasing the price increase and those kind of things, Ergo keeps on chasing adoption and actually building stuff that can be adopted in real world scenarios. So it helps to kind of have that mindset, but I'm not denying that hurts sometimes, deep down emotionally, to see those other things happen. And you're like, why not us? What the hell? But yeah, you really gotta change what your focus is on, in my opinion. And that definitely helps me, for the main goal there.
Yeah. One of my first thoughts when I started thinking about building Zengate and building Palmyra is I went through a few bull markets and a few bear markets, and I built up a portfolio, and then you see the thing, every bear market crash like 90%. And of course, you start figuring out ways of how to mitigate that. So the first time it'll crash like 95%. The second time it'll do a little less if you're smarter about it, maybe like 60 to 70%. Then you'll figure out a way of how to maybe keep it at like 40 to 50%. But still, though, it's irritating, right? Yeah, you look at this and you're like, man, I accumulated this and I held and I didn't go get greedy, and then like it's down again. And I have to, like, yeah, of course, the cycle, but then I'm so sick of these cycles, and and it takes years for the stuff to recover sometimes. And just like, when financial freedom, when can I buy stuff easier without thinking about like do I fill up the car full, get a full tank of gas, or just get $20? I get that. But what I started to think myself is, I'm just kind of sick of that. I'm kind of sick of not having control over what happens in such a volatile way, right? Of course, if you do your own business, yeah, there's ups and there's downs, but at least you have a direct say in what happens to the product and what happens to your wealth profile. And so, like I said, that's why I thought, okay, instead of sitting here and waiting for ADA to moon and waiting for Ergo to moon and waiting for, whatever else to moon, I'm just going to build something. I'm going to build something. I'm going to make it the best it can be. and I will have control over what happens to it. And I'm not going to wait for other people to do stuff for me. And so that's why I love Ergo, because so many people have that attitude at Ergo, right? So many people will build, they'll jump into the ecosystem, they'll build, there's a lot of building going on, and there's a lot of great innovation going on. And the thing about price is that price is kind of a weird thing, it forgets you until it doesn't. And that's just what it is. Just something triggers it. It might be an announcement. It might be a partnership. It might be whatever, and then it just goes. And then it goes up, and then people start to FOMO in, and then you start seeing numbers go up. And then what? Like, that's what you got to think about it. And then what? What does that do? Can we build? We could. I'm not saying we can't, but what do we do with that then? We have to think about that. It's only a matter of time until it happens to us, because it pretty much happens to anybody who is worth any chain that's worthwhile. Some take longer, some are faster, but it will happen. So, but we have to think about, what do we do on our way there, and what do we do once we get there? Because that's not the end all be all, And I don't like to talk about price, because I think it's kind of an arbitrary way of looking at things. But I see this, stuff about, Ergo to $100. Okay, and then what? Okay, so yeah, we get it to $100. If people make really good money, cash out, not cash out, or you sit there and you look at your portfolio having extra zeros and you feel really good about yourself. And then what? And then we need to build, guys. We need to expand. We need to grow the ecosystem. And yes, the degen culture is fun. And yes, watching numbers go up is fun, but you need to build something sustainable. So that's why I always encourage build over just sitting there and thinking about, when is the next time, when is the next announcement, when is the next partnership. Just build it, and if you can't build it, yourself, get a friend and build it, or support, get involved in the ecosystem, have control. Kushti said, take as much control of the ecosystem as you can. Do it. And there's a reason he said that, because that is a way you have a say over what happens to your investment, versus just sitting there and waiting for somebody else to do it. All right, that was the end of my rant. You got anything to add to that, QX, Kushti?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go for it, Kushti.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm looking in chat where you're talking, Dan, and people are saying, somebody said, said that they come from Solana and Cosmos, and they did some transactions super fast, and they come and try to do a transaction on Spectrum, and it's slow and it's painful for them. And I understand, but at the same time, the community has voiced their concerns with block time, and you have the core dev sitting right here on the left side of your screen, who's now actively pushing and developing sidechain blocks, subblocks to do that, to help alleviate that kind of stress. And I want to ask you guys where you're going to have your voice heard that much on any other chain. Where are you going to have Kushti, respond to these kind of things and say, what, this, I understand that pressure point. We can try to figure that out and do something about it. I want you to go to the Solana Discord or Telegram and voice your opinion there and see what happens. That's the amazing thing about Ergo, is that everybody can have a say in that, how it goes. And if it's a great idea and the support, then it can be pushed forward like that. So yeah. Plus, yeah, that's all I'll say. I don't want to diss any other chains, but just say positive about Ergo as that goes.
the thing about it is, the transaction speed blows your mind. There's a reason for that because in some of these chains, and
I wasn't going to say it, but yeah.
well, no, but let's say it, and if somebody's got a counter argument, we can address that too. It's an open forum. The reason why the speed is faster on Solana is because other things have been sacrificed. Yeah. Stability has been sacrificed, sustainability has been sacrificed, security has been sacrificed. That's why it's faster. And let's face it, if we're going to sacrifice these things, we're still going to sacrifice, say, decentralization, right? Well, then what is the point of this stuff anyway? I mean, why not just use a traditional database? It's faster. It's secure enough.
Why don't I take out a loan to host and run a Solana node, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. And it is faster. It is faster. But there is a reason for that. And yes, Ergo does need to be faster. Yes, we and I acknowledge that, and that's a valid point. But we're working towards that. And the difference here is that we're not moving fast and breaking things. We are doing it right. So when it is fast, it's going to be fast and secure and sustainable and decentralized. And that is the whole point. I'd rather take personally, I will take decentralization and security and stability over speed. That's just me. But again, it's not to say that is not a valid point, that we do need to work on speed, and we are working on it, and it will be fixed.
It's not hard to build some system high throughput, but it would be just centralized somewhat, right? There are some known tricks since even before yours, I guess, on how to do that. So just have some simple consensus in closed quorum, right? That was called delegated proof of stake, right? And then, you have like 21 operators known, so then you don't have peer-to-peer broadcasting, right? So in Solana, you don't have mempool in a classic sense. So, transactions not included into a block, just sent to a next validator, which is known, which is not a secure option, by the way, but yeah, that's how it's done. And so on, so on. So it's, not a big deal, right, to build, a simulation of blockchain with high throughput. The only question is why to build a simulation, right, which is, doesn't have decentralization and security, resilience, and so on. And about sentiment, so I don't know. Sentiment is always changing. So, one day there is some pump, right, and then, it's excitement, right, over all the channels. A lot of talks about right future and so on. Well, another day it's in red, and then a lot of panic and so on. But
world's over.
After after 10 years in the space, this schizophrenic picture, is actually I don't know, not that interesting, let's say.
You got to think, I like to think of it as climate and weather. Weather is what happens every day, every other day. Climate is what happens over the long run. So in Ergo, in these chains in general, you should be looking at the climate, not the weather. Yeah,
but I think that should be about all the chains, right? So I mean, if the price action lasts for 2 days, and then after that, the chain could be forgotten. I don't know. That would be that's happening, I guess, but that's a little bit terrible. This is mostly about some meme coins, right, and so on. That's a pure lottery, right, as a kind of investment product. It's not different from casino lottery.
Right. Well, I think this is a good place to leave it off for this week. I mean, QX is already kind of trailing off. He's looking into the distance, all glassy-eyed and stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm already sleeping, Dan.
Yeah, sleepy. Yeah, I mean, it is past midnight for me, but you're the one who's sleepy. All right, I see how it goes. Anyway, since QX needs to get his beauty rest, I think we'll leave it off here for this week. And so thanks everyone for the questions. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for your support. And so next week, same time, same channel, we will be here and we'll make it happen. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining and have a good whatever you're in, morning, day, night. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.